So hello, Link341. Today we're going to talk about other Airstream mechanisms, and we will be starting right away. For other Airstream mechanisms, it is possible to move air in and out of the vocal tract without moving air in and out of the lungs, which is quite exciting for us. Here is one method in which you can do this. So first of all, you close the glottis, like make a glottal stop, and then you can make a stop closure above the glottis. So you can make any stop closure, such as bilabial, for example, right? Then important thing is that these two closures close off the chamber of air above the glottis. So you completely close it off, and Boyle's law applies because air pressure changes, right? You're closing off with your glottal stop this larynx, right? And then you're closing off your vocal tract. So basically, you're making a chamber which is closed off, as if you have air in a lid in a jar, right? That's what you do with your vocal tract. Uh, and yeah, I just have to mention that these two steps, the glottis and stop closure above the glottis, can happen simultaneously for these pitch sounds. But let's see the full method. So the number three, then you raise the glottis. This compresses the air in the supraglottal cavity, meaning that if you raise the glottis up, it will compress the air and make the air pressure higher, right? Um, then you release the stop closure. Air rushes out of the vocal tract from high pressure to low pressure. So because you have increased the glottis or raised the glottis, then the air pressure becomes higher and it wants to get out of your mouth, and you just let the physics do its work. So you release the glottal closure as well, and air rushes out of the lungs, making a glottal stop, right? Sounds which are made in this way use what we call a glottalic egressive airstream mechanism. Glottalic because of the glottis, right, of the place where you basically make the sound, and egressive airstream mechanism because of the air rushing out of your lungs. Um, so yes, the raise of the glottis, number three, is the most difficult part of producing this sound because it is often difficult to control the larynx. But what may come in handy for you to feel how you can raise the glottis is to place your two fingers like this here and sing a low note such as and then move from low to high. I don't know if you can see this. This is very subtle. Right. So if you put your fingers, you'll definitely feel it. So make sure to place your fingers. You may also say like making a glottal stop, in a low note, and then try to do it in a high note, which will sound ridiculous, but you can do that. So so you're raising the glottis, and that's the most difficult part. You have to practice in order to be able to do it consciously, right? So, yeah, basically, what we do with these sounds is that we are producing glottalic egressive sounds by holding our breath. So basically, you can do this, and hopefully, you can feel the glottis rising or increasing. Right, a little bit up. So that should do the work. Yeah, I'm going to draw again, right? Um, not, I don't have the best drawing skills, but let's see what we can do with this. So basically, you have glottis here, right? And then you have this epiglottis and tongue, right? Somewhere here you have your teeth and your lips. Let's say that you want to close your lips like this and make a bilabial stop, right? This is your velum, and here it is your, you know, the velum is raised, so there is no escape of air there. So if you're closing this part here and closing this part here, you're basically making a closed chamber, right? So the air is right there, and it's like a closed jar. But what you do with these sounds is, for example, increase or raise the glottis a little bit up there. As I said, you can try to do this like singing it a low note, and then you can control it later. For example, as in, uh, right? And when you raise this, the glottis comes here and it pushes the air above, so the air now is compressed, right? The chamber here is decreasing. Remember, the chamber decreasing, and when the chamber decreases, the air pressure becomes higher. So you want to release this air into the atmosphere, right out there, and that's how you make a glottalic egressive sound. A glottalic egressive sound is also called, oops, so yeah, my drawing is here, are also called ejectives. So sounds made with the glottalic egressive airstream mechanisms are known as ejectives. Ejectives are symbolized with this kind of a symbol here, which is an apostrophe, right, following a symbol for stop. And here you have them. So this is how we transcribe ejectives. Let's listen and try to sing along. And to make an ejective, as I said, try making stops while holding your breath. So right? Alternatively, you can imitate Elaine from Seinfeld. She allegedly says, yep, 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 or you can say, yet, yuck, even yuck. So many English speakers actually say word sick, sick as an ejective. So ejectives are present in English as well, although not phonemically, of course. So ejectives are found in about 18% of the world's languages, so not in many languages. And here is Quechua again. Quechua has this three-way contrast between palatal, alveolar, velar, and uvular, or uvular, voiceless, aspirated, and ejective. So let's listen to voiceless, palatal, alveolar.
Chaka.
Or this is, in this case, post-alveolar.
Kuyui.
Chaka, kuyui.
Kalyu.
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 Kalyu. Right? So these are clear to you. And let's produce aspirated.
Chaka.
Chaka. So for this ch is just like a ch, but you let the air out before you start producing the vowel. So chaka.
Chaka. Kuyui. Kalyu.
Right? And now ejectives.
Chaka.
Aka.
Kuyui.
Koyui.
Kalyu.
Kalyu. Right? And you can sing along. All right. Yeah. One thing here is that you can hear the difference between these two uvulars very clearly, especially between the aspirated ones and ejectives, because they function in a completely different way. So let's listen.
Kalyu. Kalyu.
Kalyu. Kalyu. Right? So there you have it. So is it possible to make a voiced ejective? You can pause the video here and I'll answer right now. No, they are unattested. Actually, there is one sound like the voiced ejective that is allegedly found in the language Hu, and that is, alveolar d. But generally, Khoisan languages have so many consonants that this one like many others, is most likely the remnant of the sounds used many centuries ago. So I don't believe there is any voiced ejective. And why is that so? That's a good question to answer. So why can't we have voiced ejectives? Well, in principle, if you're making a glottal stop, you're not allowing air to go through, so you're not allowing air to make vibrations, okay, of your vocal folds. So that's basically it. You cannot allow the air do this because then you would not make a glottal stop. um, is it easier, question number two, to make an ejective at some places of articulation than others? Well, you can think about that, whether it's easier for you to make, for example, pa, ka, ta, right? I think for me personally, it's definitely easier in towards the back. And here are some numbers from the OBSID database. So we have 34 bilabials, 24 alveolars, 9 palatals, and 66 velar sounds. There are also 26 affricates or languages that have these sounds. So from this, you can infer that basically towards the back of your mouth it's easier. And um, you know, you can think about that, but intuitively with ejectives it's easier to make them if the oral closure is further back, right? Since it's easier to increase the pressure if volume between larynx and closure is small. So basically, let me go back to my drawing. So if you're making a, okay, I'm going to ruin this drawing forever, but if you're making a stop with your tongue here, you're basically pushing the air and squeezing the air by decreasing the chamber, and therefore you have the higher air pressure, which makes it easier for you to release it, right? So that's why you can make cause up sorry, akas easier than up right, than in this case. So there you go, there you have it. Right, so these were ejectives, and they were I have to keep score, I forgot about that one. Okay, so we have glottalic airstream mechanism, and these are glottalic egressives, so we call them also ejectives, right? And as we said, they are transcribed with this apostrophe above, right? Very simple, or as simple as that. Okay, nice. Of course, we have its counterpart, which are glottalic ingressives, right? Here. And okay, let's talk about them, right? Glottalic ingressives are possible to make, of course, and in fact, you probably know how, and now you'll hear some of them. So here's how you do it: make a stop closure above the glottis, right? So make a stop closure above the glottis, somewhere maybe velar, dental, or whichever you want. Bring together the vocal folds. So you make k, for example, and bring together vocal folds. This creates a closed chamber of air above the glottis, right? Then you lower the glottis and air rushes through the glottis. Voicing occurs. So you have to, this time you have voicing, right? As in g, right? Okay, so let me see. Yeah, voicing occurs with this one. And the voicing part is the most difficult one. If you have a closure above the glottis, you start voicing, and you start voicing, you will quickly run out of voicing. So if you say words such as ab, regular ab, then you will lose the voicing very quickly. Ab, and you cannot continue or sustain this voicing throughout b, right? But if you first make a stop and then bring together vocal folds and start voicing, then you will make this one, as in b, 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 right? And if you can see, I'm lowering the glottis. B, b, g, g, right? So you can clearly see it and feel it if you press larynx with your two fingers. All right, so these are known as implosives, these sounds. Um, Lowering the larynx, as we said, also expands the chamber above the glottis, so it expands it. This reduces the air pressure above glottis, and step number 4 is releasing stop closure above glottis. Air rushes into mouth because air pressure was higher outside the mouth than inside the mouth, and sounds which are made with a glottalic ingressive airstream mechanism are known as implosives. And okay, let me see. So implosives, right? Too big. Okay, let's keep score. No, it doesn't really matter. Implosives. They are indicated with this curly thing. So you have a curly curly hook, something like that. So this would be an implosive, right? Yeah, the thing about these, and I'm going to draw again. So, okay, let's first listen to those. So this is the implosives are symbolized with an upper hook on a stop symbol. So you have a stop symbol and an upper hook, right? And this is, I think, bit lighter for it.
Ba.
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 Da.
Da. Da.
Ga.
Ga. As if you're strangling yourself.
Ga.
Ga. Da.
Da.
Da. Da.
Ba.
Ba. Right. These are implosives, and for the implosives, we have a little bit different strategy here. So you have, for example, lips here that are touching each other, right? Lips. Okay, teeth, right? Closed or raised. Velum. You have some tongue here, epiglottis, and finally vocal folds. So vocal folds, you close them, right? That's the first thing you do, or the first thing you do is make a stop and then close the vocal folds, right? Or you can do this simultaneously, what is usually the case with both implosives and ejectives. Usually speakers do these simultaneously. So when you have this one closed, right, and this one closed as well, you create certain kind of chamber, right? So this is the chamber. But if you lower your glottis, you increase the chamber, and when you increase the chamber, you decrease the pressure, right? The air pressure. So the air pressure becomes lower inside. So it becomes lower inside here than outside in the atmosphere, right? Air pressure. What I want to say then next, because of that, when you release the stop closure, so when you release the lips, when you have your lips not touching them, or not being adducted, then you have air rushing into your mouth, and that's why we produce ingressive sound, right? So that's the mechanism of the ingressive sounds. So let's now hear the Sindhi implosives. Sindhi is also a language spoken in India, and those languages have a lot of implosives in general.
Bunny.
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 Bunny. Dinu.
Dinu. Dinu. Dinu.
Yattu.
Yattu.
Gannu.
Kanu. Okay.
Bunnu.
This is the regular one. So
Bunnu. Bunny.
let's compare. Bunny.
Bunny. Bannu.
The voicing occurs, as I said, later, right? For this one.
Bunny.
Bunny.
Daru.
Daru. This is a regular R, trill R.
Door.
Doro. This is a retroflex. Doro.
Door. Jat.
Jat.
Gun.
Gunu.
Gun.
Yeah. And let's compare these two.
Gannu.
Ganu. Ganu.
Gun.
Gunu. Right? Yeah, so I won't play these, or I may play them. Okay?
Pannu. Taru. Tannu. Chattu. Kannu.
These are just voiceless counterparts, and these are voiced ones, right? And there are these implosives up there. Okay, so implosives are found in some dialects of American English, just like ejectives in, for example, I know sick. Implosives are found sometimes in the south. Some portions of the Midwest Midlands region would produce something like Bama. No, I'm from the Bama, from Bama, something like that. Then in the past, people usually produce da, da, and as you can also make us following caricature for go, for right, something like that. And here is a former student producing an implosive.
Beak. Beak.
Beak, as if you're trying to enunciate, emphasize. It's a beak. Beak. Yeah, something like that. All right, so the implosive stats. Implosives occur in about 10% of the world's languages, so they're even rarer than ejectives. Not quite common as ejectives, as I said. So should some places of articulation be more conducive to making implosives than others? Well, you can think about this. Where it's easier for you to make an implosive. Implosives are more frequently found at frontal places of articulation. As we said, bilabials have them. Many languages have bilabial implosives. Only one language has retroflex and uvular, and 5 languages have velar, 10 palatal, and 23 alveolar. But why is that so? Why are they found at frontal places of articulation, unlike ejectives? So one of the reasons might be because bilabials are derived historically from those voiced plosives, so like b, d, right? And this is just a historical fact. There is nothing, or there is very little physics in why this occurs, right? There also can be, I assume, some physics there, because when you're lowering the larynx, and if you're producing this velar, for example, the air pressure is not that smaller here, lower here than in the atmosphere. That's why it's more difficult to make velar implosives. So that can be the story of it, but it hasn't been attested yet. Another deep question for you is it possible to make a voiceless implosive? I already revealed this to you. Yes, but they're exceedingly rare. They're only found in about 3 languages, and to make them you have to make vocal folds must remain tightly closed as the larynx is pushed down, as in pa, pa, right? And the vocal folds prevents voicing from occurring. So you have to remain them tightly closed as you push the larynx down. I, pa, ha, something like that. It's very difficult, but not impossible, right? Voiceless implosives are found in Igbo, a language spoken in Nigeria, and Igbo is interesting because it has these voiceless, aspirated, breathy, voiceless implosive, voiced implosive. Let's listen and sing along. This is a tone language, so you'll hear different tones or tonalities as well.
Iba.
Iba.
Iba. Ipa.
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 Iba.
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 Iba. And a voiced implosive.
Iba.
Iba. So there is a very subtle difference between these two.
Ipa.
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 Actually, this one voiceless implosive is more similar to voiceless unaspirated. So
Ipa. Ipa.
yeah, very similar, but there is subtle difference if you listen to it very carefully. And then you have alveolars.
Ida. Nta.
Nta.
Ita.
Ita. Ita.
Ida.
Ida.
Ita.
Ida. Or ita. Oops.
Ita.
Ida. Right? Something like that. So that would be those would be implosives, right? Yeah, I already wrote them and kept score. The next one and last but not least are velaric ingressive sounds. Velaric ingressives are possible to make, and they are made in the following way. First, you make a stop closure at the velum along with another stop closure in front of the velum. So you can make like k stop closure and t at the same time, right? So you're basically producing something with you're hitting the roof of your mouth, back of your mouth with the tongue, and here the front of your mouth or alveolar ridge. This creates a closed chamber of air between the velum and the forward stop closure. So this is a closed chamber of air, right? What happens next is if you expand the closed chamber of air by lowering the tongue, right? And the air pressure in the closed chamber decreases, right, as you expand the chamber. Step number 3 is when you release the forward stop closure, the air rushes into your mouth, right, from high air pressure to low air pressure. The rush of air creates a loud clicking sound, right, as in. And finally, step number 4, you release the velar stop closure, which often you do not hear even, you just hear the click sound. And this may, or as I said, may not result in a velar stop or release burst. And that's why we call these clicks. So you make a click sound by following these steps. As in here, for example, clicks can be made at 5 different places of articulation. This is from your IPA chart. Usually they are they're not transcribed just like this. I'll show you in a couple of slides. They are transcribed by placing k before them, right? And yeah, let's hear the bilabial one. Appa, 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 something like that. Yeah, so this one is like a noise that you make when you're calling a horse, or imitating a horse. Languages which use clicks as contrastive sounds are exclusively found in southern and central Africa, particularly in Khoisan languages. So only Khoisan language, or particularly Zulu, and Khoisan languages have these. For example, one of the Khoisan languages is O, spoken in Botswana, contrasts clicks at all 5 places of articulation. So O is also tonal language, so it makes your life more difficult, but this is how they make a bilabial stop, or bilabial click.
Oh.
Oh.
Ah.
Ah.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Mm.
Ah.
Yeah, these are tough to make, but once you get a hang of them, and once you practice all of these, then you will get through those. By convention, a k appears before all click sounds to represent the velar closure, so make sure that you have a k if it's voiceless. So these are the click places. I won't go through these a lot, but you can see that the closure for the lateral, for example, is in both at the velum and at the alveolar ridge, but I guess there is some laterality there of the friction. Then there is a palatal closure, which covers a huge chunk of the front of the palate. Alveolar as well. dental and bilabial, and you can see what happens when you lower the tongue with all of these sounds. You increase the chamber and the air pressure decreases, right? In this case. So all clicks are very high in acoustic intensity, which means they are loud. We'll learn about intensity very soon. Alveolar and palatal clicks have a transient, short release, so this is how they are produced. Yeah, and this one doesn't work, but something like, yeah, maybe I just produce dental rather than alveolar, because these are very short, and in comparison to dental and bilabial clicks, they do not have affricated release. But dental and bilabial clicks has some affrication, like in ch, like you are producing some kind of saliva there. So you would say, okay, doesn't work. And here, right? And laterals are somewhere in between. Yeah, so you can give them a shot. There is a fun feature about clicks in connected speech. For example, clicks are produced in a long, when they are produced in a long sequence of connected speech, you may experience a phenomenon known as perceptual streaming. This is basically when you do not think that clicks are even speech sounds, but only some noise in the background. And when you produce them in a or when you perceive them in a connected speech, in a longer chunk of speech, like here, you may perceive them as non-sounds at all.
Iqaqa liqikaqikaka kuqaqaqa laqhawuka uqhoqhoqho laqothaqotheka eqaqaqeni laqhawuka uqhoqhoqho iqaqobana lomqaqoba liqhawulwa lixeshana wequngequdu uququdu kaqhinebe enqayini eqheya labhuqubhuqeka laqa.
Yeah, and this one
Liqabeni xoxo ngomxhaxhomxoxosi.
has a lot of nasal clicks as well, so try not to make nasals when you make clicks. So this is alveolar, for example, as in, but if you produce it with a nasal airstream, or with airstream going through your nose, it can sound like and you don't want to do that, because there are nasal clicks as well, and these are different from the regular clicks. So this is a perceptual streaming. This one has more dental and bilabial clicks, I think, than this one. So you can listen to these. These were publicly available, but not anymore. I think they were taken in the field. So deep thought question for you would be: is it possible to make a voiced click? Well, I already provided the answer to you. Yes, of course, because of the glottis, of course, which is not affected. So you have glottis somewhere, here, and it's not affected at all. So you can do whatever you want with it in order to produce voice clicks. Is it possible to? But they are rarer because you have to control so many things. Is it possible to make an aspirated click? Sort of. Yes. It's also very difficult, but you're doing this with basically at your glottis, so you're pushing the air after you produced everything. So something like I don't know, something like that. Is it possible to make a nasal click? Yes, as I said, they're very prominent in many languages. And is it possible to make an injective click? Sort of. Very difficult though, because then you're using two kinds of mechanisms there. You're using glottalic and velaric mechanisms, but it is possible to maybe combine them after you have produced a click. You can produce an injective sort of a sound. Yeah, so I'll just drink water here and stop for a second. Zulu clicks. Zulu clicks have different, Zulu is spoken in South Africa, and there are different types of Zulu clicks. This is dental, and this is an aspirated one. These are voiced ones and nasal ones. So you can see that there are different types of clicks. What we covered it's basically showing that these answers that we have here on these questions are true, right? There is a possibility of aspirated one, there is a possibility of voiced one, there is a possibility of nasal one, and we'll see on the next page there is a possibility of ejective one. But let's first listen to these dental ones.
Xaka,
Aga,
xaka,
aga,
coba,
oba,
isince,
isinge, right? You're producing this one by letting your airstream or airflow go to go through nasal cavity. These are alveopalatals or post-alveolars.
xaka,
Yeah, these are the reduplicated forms, which are used to indicate sometimes plural or some kind of morpheme in different languages.
xaka,
Oh,
coba,
but yeah, maybe even an implosive here.
isince,
Isinge, alveolar lateral.
xaka, xaka, coba, isinxele,
Isinglele. Yeah, this one is very difficult, so you have to have laterality as well a bit. But clicks are not common, so we will be concerned with clicks only in terms of articulation. So you will have to produce them or learn how to produce them, but we won't inspect them acoustically. Then Juhoasi clicks or Juhoasi language is spoken in Namibia and Botswana, and it provides an example of affricated velar ejective. So it can have this affrication, or this diacritic is for affrication here, this little X. Then ejective is just this apostrophe. So let's listen to this. Yeah, so this one is something like you need to have affrication as well as ejective there. Not impossible, but very rare. Finally, I'll just keep score here. So we have we had pulmonic, glottalic, velaric. Velaric are always ingressive, and they're called clicks, right? We can maybe use this symbol for clicks, like alveolar one. And are there aggressive clicks? Where there aren't any. Maybe beatboxers could do these, but not us, and only in certain circumstances. So these would constitute noise or some kind of sounds that are not speech sounds. So we have the overview of Airstream mechanisms. We have the airflow that's going out and in. If it's going out, we call these speech sounds aggressive. If it's going egressive, so if it's going in, we call them ingressive. They can be pulmonic with your lungs. They can be above your lungs. They can be produced above your lungs with your larynx here, and velaric produced even higher up into the mouth cavity. So this was the summary of Airstream mechanisms. I hope you had fun. Try producing these, try listening to these very carefully and repeating them to the best of your ability. Mechanisms and knowing the methods will help. So thank you for listening, and thank you for being great students.